Marcus Sterling sat in his leather chair on the 42nd floor of Sterling Technologies, staring at the resignation letter on his desk. The expensive paper felt heavy in his hands, but not as heavy as the weight in his chest. Another nanny had quit. The 17th one in 2 years. Mr. Sterling, his assistant Sarah knocked on the door. "Mrs. Williams is here to see you." Marcus looked up to see the latest nanny standing in his doorway. Mrs. Williams, a woman in her 50s who came with excellent references and 20 years of experience, looked like she had survived a tornado. Her usually perfect gray hair stuck out in odd directions, and there was what appeared to be purple paint on her white blouse. "I cannot do this anymore," Mrs. Williams said, her voice shaking. "Those children are not normal. They are impossible." Marcus set down the resignation letter and rubbed his temples. "What happened this time?" "They filled my car with glitter and dead roses," she said, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Glitter, Mr. Sterling. Do you know how impossible it is to get glitter out of car upholstery? And the smell of those rotting flowers." She shuddered. But that was not the worst part. What was the worst part? Marcus asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. "They looked me straight in the eyes while they did it. 8-year-old children should not have that kind of coldness in their eyes. They planned this. They wanted me to quit, and they succeeded." Marcus stood up and walked to the window. The city stretched out below him, full of lights and life. Everything looked so small from up here, including his problems. But when he went home, those problems would be waiting for him in the form of 2 small girls who seemed determined to push away everyone who tried to care for them. "I am sorry, Mrs. Williams. I will have Sarah process your final payment." After she left, Marcus remained at the window. His daughters, Lily and Rose, were only 8 years old, but they had the strategic minds of generals. Every nanny who came into their lives was seen as an enemy to be defeated. And they had not lost a single battle yet. 2 years ago, everything had been different. His wife Emma had been alive, and their house had been filled with laughter and love. The twins had been normal, happy children who painted pictures for their mother and begged for bedtime stories. But when Emma died in that car accident, something had broken in all of them. Marcus had thrown himself into work to escape the pain, and the girls had become strangers to him. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. "Daddy?" The voice was small and uncertain. It was Rose, the more outgoing of his twins. "Yes, sweetheart." Mrs. Williams left. She was crying. Marcus closed his eyes. "I know. Are you coming home soon?" "I will be there in a couple of hours." "Is Mrs. Chen still there?" Mrs. Chen was their housekeeper, the only staff member who had managed to stay longer than a few months, probably because she ignored the twins most of the time. "Yes, but she is making dinner and told us to stay upstairs." "I will see you when I get home. Be good." "We are always good," Rose said, but Marcus could hear the lie in her voice. After hanging up, Marcus looked at his calendar. 3 more meetings, 2 conference calls, and a dinner with potential investors. He could cancel them all and go home, but what would he do when he got there? He did not know how to talk to his daughters anymore. Every conversation ended in tears or shouting or cold silence that was somehow worse than both. 3 floors below, Tom Rodriguez pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway. The night shift suited him perfectly. Most of the building was quiet after 7 in the evening, which meant he could work efficiently and still have time to think. Thinking was dangerous these days, but sometimes he could not help it. His son Miguel was at home, hopefully doing homework and not playing video games. At 10 years old, Miguel was becoming more independent every day, which was both a blessing and a worry. Tom worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat since his wife Maria had died 3 years ago. The day shift at the grocery store, evening cleaning at a small office building, and nights here at Sterling Technologies. It was exhausting, but it paid the bills and kept Miguel in a decent school. Tom had been working at Sterling Technologies for 8 months now. He knew the building better than most of the people who worked there during the day. He knew that Mr. Peterson from accounting always left his coffee cup on his windowsill, and that the lady from human resources had a drawer full of candy that she thought no one knew about. He knew which offices had the best views and which bathrooms needed the most attention. What he did not know was why Marcus Sterling, the CEO of the company, was still in his office at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. Tom knocked on the door frame softly. "Excuse me, sir. I need to empty your trash." Marcus turned around, looking surprised. Most of the cleaning crew worked around him when he stayed late, but this man was actually speaking to him. "Of course," Marcus said, stepping aside. Tom quickly emptied the waste basket and was about to leave when Marcus spoke again. "Do you have children?" The question caught Tom off guard. In 8 months of working here, Marcus Sterling had never said more than "hello" to him. "Yes, sir. A son. He is 10. Is he a good kid?" Tom paused in his cleaning. There was something in the billionaire's voice that sounded almost desperate. "He has his moments," Tom said carefully. "But yes, he is a good boy. Lost his mother when he was 7, so we have been figuring things out together." Marcus stared at him for a long moment. "I am sorry for your loss." "Thank you, sir. I am sorry if I am keeping you from your work." "No, you are fine." Marcus sat back down at his desk. "Do you mind me asking how you manage it? Working and raising a son alone?" Tom set down his supplies and considered the question. This was not a normal conversation to have with the CEO of a major corporation, but the man seemed genuinely interested in an answer. "I try to remember that he did not choose to lose his mother," Tom said. "Sometimes he acts out because he is angry or scared, but underneath all that, he just wants to know that I am not going anywhere. Kids need to feel safe before they can be good." Marcus nodded slowly. "That makes sense. Do you have children, sir?" "Twin daughters. 8 years old." Marcus hesitated. "They have been having some behavior problems since their mother died." Tom felt a pang of sympathy. "How long has it been?" 2 years. "And in that time, they have driven away 17 nannies." 17. Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I am starting to think they are beyond help." "No child is beyond help," Tom said quietly. "Sometimes they just need the right person to stick around long enough to prove they are not going anywhere." Before Marcus could respond, the elevator doors opened down the hall, and 2 small voices echoed through the empty building. "I told you we should have taken the stairs," one voice said. "The stairs are boring," another voice replied. "Besides, nobody is here this late." Marcus stood up quickly. "Lily? Rose? What are you doing here?" 2 identical girls appeared in the doorway of his office. They had dark hair like their father and bright blue eyes that missed nothing. They looked at Tom with curiosity, taking in his janitor uniform and cleaning supplies. "Mrs. Chen fell asleep watching television," said the girl on the left, who Tom assumed was Rose based on her confident posture. "We got bored. So you decided to come to my office? How did you even get here?" "We called a taxi," said the other girl, Lily. She was quieter than her sister, standing slightly behind Rose. "We have been watching how adults do things." Marcus looked horrified. "You took a taxi by yourselves? At night? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" "We had money," Rose said defiantly. "And we told the driver we were meeting our father." "That is not the point." Marcus was trying to keep his voice calm, but Tom could see the panic in his eyes. "You cannot just leave the house whenever you want to. What if something had happened to you? What would you care?" Lily said suddenly, her voice sharp. "You are never home anyway." The words hung in the air like a slap. Marcus looked like he had been physically hit, and Rose immediately stepped in front of her sister protectively. "Lily did not mean that," Rose said quickly. Yes, I did, Lily said, and suddenly she was crying. Not the dramatic tears of a child trying to get attention, but the deep, heartbroken sobs of someone who had been holding in pain for too long. You do not want us around. Nobody wants us around. That is why the nannies keep leaving. That is why you stay at work all the time. We are too much trouble. She collapsed into one of the chairs in front of Marcus's desk, her small body shaking with sobs. Rose stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Marcus looked equally helpless, reaching toward his daughter but not knowing how to comfort her. Without thinking, Tom set down his cleaning supplies and walked over to Lily. He did not try to pick her up or force her to stop crying. Instead, he simply sat down on the floor next to her chair. When my son Miguel was about your age, Tom said quietly, he used to have nightmares every night. He would wake up screaming, and nothing I did could make him feel better. One night, I asked him what the nightmares were about. Lily's sobs quieted slightly, though she did not look up. He told me that in his dreams, I would disappear just like his mother did. He was so scared that everyone he loved would leave him that he could not sleep peacefully. So you know what I did? What? Rose asked softly, moving closer to her sister. I moved a sleeping bag into his room and slept on his floor every night for 2 months. I wanted him to know that even when he was asleep, I was still there. I was not going anywhere. Did the nightmares stop? Lily asked, finally looking up at Tom with red, swollen eyes. Eventually. But more importantly, Miguel stopped being scared that I would leave. Because I proved to him with my actions, not just my words, that I would stay. Marcus was watching this interaction with amazement. This stranger, this janitor, had managed to calm his daughter in a way that he had not been able to do in months. Sometimes, Tom continued, when people are scared of being left behind, they push others away first. It feels safer to make someone leave than to wait for them to decide to go on their own. Lily wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Is that what we do? I do not know, Tom said honestly. But I think you are both very smart girls who love your father very much, and you are probably scared and angry and sad all at the same time. That is a lot of feelings for anyone to handle, especially someone who is 8 years old. Rose sat down on the floor next to Tom. Our mother used to say that feelings were like weather. Sometimes it is sunny, sometimes it rains, but it always changes eventually. Your mother sounds like she was a very wise woman, Tom said. She was, Marcus said quietly, speaking for the first time since Tom had started talking to his daughters. She always knew exactly what to say to make everything better. Maybe she still does, Tom suggested gently. Maybe you just need to listen harder. The office fell quiet except for the sound of the air conditioning and the distant hum of traffic far below. 4 people sat in the expensive room, each lost in their own thoughts about love and loss and the courage it takes to keep trying. I should get you girls home, Marcus said finally. Can Tom come with us? Lily asked suddenly. Tom started to shake his head. I should finish my work here. Please. Rose added. We want to show you our room. Marcus looked at Tom with an expression that was part gratitude and part desperation. If you do not mind, I would appreciate the help getting them settled. Tom thought about Miguel at home, probably asleep by now. He thought about his cleaning route, which would take another 2 hours to complete. He thought about the invisible line between the wealthy CEO and the night janitor, and how crossing it might complicate both their lives. Then he looked at 2 little girls who had just stopped crying for the first time in who knows how long, and he made his choice. Let me just put my supplies away, Tom said. Then we can go home. The ride to Marcus's house was quiet except for the soft hum of the expensive car and occasional directions from Rose. Tom sat in the front passenger seat, feeling out of place in the leather interior that probably cost more than his monthly rent. The twins sat in the back, unusually calm after their emotional outburst at the office. Marcus's house was enormous, sitting behind tall iron gates in an exclusive neighborhood. Tom had cleaned houses before during his early working years, but nothing like this. The driveway alone was bigger than his entire apartment building's parking lot. "This is our home," Lily said quietly as they pulled up to the front door. Tom could hear something sad in the way she said it. It was a house, certainly, but he wondered if it felt like a home to these two little girls. Inside, the house was even more impressive. High ceilings, expensive artwork, and furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. But Tom noticed something else too. Despite its beauty, the house felt empty. There were no toys scattered around, no children's artwork hanging on the refrigerator, no signs that two 8-year-old girls actually lived here. "The girls' rooms are upstairs," Marcus said, leading them up a wide staircase. "Mrs. Chin usually puts them to bed, but she was asleep when they left." Mrs. Chin appeared at the top of the stairs, looking worried and embarrassed. She was a small woman in her 60s who spoke with a slight accent. "Mr. Sterling, I am so sorry. I fell asleep watching the news. When I woke up, the girls were gone. I was about to call you." "It is okay, Mrs. Chin," Marcus said tiredly. "They are safe now. Why don't you go home? I can handle bedtime tonight." Mrs. Chin nodded gratefully and gathered her things. Before leaving, she paused and looked at Tom curiously, probably wondering who this stranger in work clothes was. The girls' rooms were side by side, connected by a shared bathroom. Each room was perfectly decorated in expensive furniture and toys that looked like they had never been played with. Rose's room was painted in soft pink, while Lily's was lavender. Both rooms were immaculate and somehow felt as empty as the rest of the house. "Do you like our rooms?" Rose asked Tom, but there was something uncertain in her voice, like she was not sure if she liked them herself. "They are very beautiful," Tom said honestly. "But where do you actually play?" The girls exchanged a look. "We are supposed to keep our rooms clean," Lily said. "The nannies always tell us that good girls keep their things organized." Tom knelt down to their level. "Where I come from, kids' rooms are supposed to be a little messy. That means they are actually being used for fun, not just for looking pretty." "Really?" Rose asked. "Really. My son Miguel's room looks like a tornado hit it most days. But that is where he builds his model airplanes and reads his comic books and dreams about being an astronaut. We like to build things too," Lily said shyly. "But we are not supposed to make messes." Marcus was listening to this conversation with a troubled expression. "Girls, you can play with your toys. That is what they are for." "But the nannies always get angry when we mess things up," Rose said. "And then they quit," Lily added quietly. Tom looked around the rooms again and understood something important. These girls had been living like guests in their own home, afraid to touch anything or be themselves because they might drive away another caregiver. "Well," Tom said, "if it was my room, I would want to see what was actually inside all these toy boxes." The twins looked at each other, then at their father, then back at Tom. Slowly, Rose walked over to a large toy chest and opened it. Inside were art supplies, building blocks, dolls, and dozens of other toys still in their packaging. "We could build a fort," Lily suggested hesitantly. "Or paint pictures," Rose added. "Or both," Tom said with a smile. "But maybe tomorrow. Right now, it is pretty late for 8-year-old girls to be awake." Getting the twins ready for bed was easier than Tom had expected. They seemed tired from all the emotions of the evening. Marcus stood awkwardly in the doorway, clearly wanting to help but not knowing how. "Daddy," Rose said as she climbed into her bed, "will Tom come back tomorrow?" Marcus looked at Tom uncertainly. Tom has his own job and his own family to take care of. But maybe he could visit sometimes? Lily asked hopefully. Tom felt his heart squeeze. These girls had attached to him after just one evening, which told him how desperately they needed someone to care about them. "We will see," Tom said gently. "For now, get some sleep." After the girls were settled, Marcus walked Tom downstairs. They stood in the grand foyer, both unsure what to say. "Thank you," Marcus said finally. "I have not seen them that calm in months." "They are good kids," Tom replied. "They are just hurting." Marcus nodded. "I know I am not a good father. I work too much, I do not know how to talk to them, and every time I try, I seem to make things worse." "Grief is hard," Tom said. "For adults and for children. But hiding from it does not make it go away." "Is that what I am doing? Hiding?" Tom chose his words carefully. "I think you are protecting yourself the only way you know how. But your daughters need to know that losing their mother did not mean losing their father too." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "The thing is, I do not know how to be a single parent. Emma was the one who understood them, who knew what they needed. I provided for them, but she was their world." "Then maybe it is time to learn how to be their world too," Tom suggested. They said goodbye, and Tom took a taxi back to his own neighborhood. The ride gave him time to think about the evening's events. He had connected with those little girls in a way that felt natural and right, but he also knew that getting involved with his boss's family could complicate his life in ways he was not prepared for. At home, Miguel was asleep, but he had left a note on the kitchen table: "Dad, I finished my homework and ate the leftover pizza. Hope work was okay. Love you." Tom smiled and tucked the note into his wallet. This was his real life, his real responsibility. But he could not stop thinking about two little girls who were sleeping in beautiful rooms that felt more like prisons than sanctuaries. The next evening, Tom was surprised when Marcus appeared at his cleaning station. "Tom, do you have a minute?" "Of course, sir." Marcus looked nervous. "I have a proposition for you, and I want you to know that you can say no without any consequences to your job here." Tom waited. "I would like to offer you a position as my daughter's caregiver. Not a nanny exactly, but someone who could be there for them after school and in the evenings when I am working late. The pay would be significantly more than what you make here, and you could bring your son with you if needed." Tom stared at him. "Sir, I appreciate the offer, but I do not have any formal training in childcare." Frankly, the 17 professionally trained nannies were not exactly successful, Marcus said with a dry laugh. "What you did last night, the way you understood them and calmed them down, that cannot be taught in any school. This would be a big change for all of us," Tom said slowly. "I know. And I understand if you need time to think about it. But Tom, my daughters asked about you all day today. They want to show you their art supplies and ask if your son likes to build things. They have not been excited about anything in 2 years." Tom thought about his 3 jobs, the constant exhaustion, the worry about Miguel being alone so much. He thought about the bills that never seemed to get smaller no matter how hard he worked. But mostly, he thought about 2 little girls who had trusted him with their pain after knowing him for just one evening. "Can I talk to my son about it first?" Tom asked. "Of course. Take all the time you need." That night, Tom sat Miguel down at their small kitchen table and explained the situation. Miguel listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions about the twins and what the job would mean for their life. "So we would go to their house after my school?" Miguel asked. "Yes, and you could do your homework there, maybe play with the girls sometimes if you want to." "Are they nice?" Tom smiled. "They are hurt and scared, but underneath that, yes, I think they are very nice. They remind me a little of you when you were younger and missing your mom." Miguel nodded seriously. He was wise beyond his years, a side effect of losing a parent young. "I think we should help them," Miguel said finally. "Mom always said that when you can help someone who is hurting, you should. Even if it means spending time with rich people who are very different from us. People are people, Dad. Rich or poor, everyone needs someone to care about them." Tom felt a surge of pride in his son. "When did you get so smart?" "I learned from watching you," Miguel said with a grin. The next day, Tom accepted Marcus's offer. The first few weeks were an adjustment for everyone. The twins tested Tom in every way they could think of. They hid his keys, put salt in his coffee, and refused to do their homework. But unlike the nannies before him, Tom did not get angry or threaten to quit. When they hid his keys, he calmly helped them look for them, turning it into a game. When they put salt in his coffee, he took a sip, made a face, and asked if they knew how to make better coffee. When they refused to do homework, he sat down and started helping Miguel with his assignments, letting them join in when they got curious. Slowly, the testing stopped and real connection began. Tom learned that Rose was fiercely protective of her sister but worried that she was not strong enough to take care of everyone. Lily was quieter but incredibly observant, noticing things about people that others missed. Both girls were brilliant and creative, but they had learned to hide those parts of themselves because previous caregivers had been more interested in keeping them quiet and clean than in nurturing their personalities. Miguel became like a big brother to the twins, teaching them games and sharing stories about school. The girls had been isolated from other children for so long that having a peer around helped them remember how to just be kids. Tom also began to understand Marcus better. The man was not cold or uncaring, he was terrified. He loved his daughters desperately but felt completely inadequate as a single parent. Every decision felt like a potential mistake, every conversation felt like a risk of saying the wrong thing. So he had retreated into work, the one area where he felt competent and in control. "You know," Tom said to him one evening as they watched the children play in the backyard, "being scared of messing up does not make you a bad father. It just makes you human." Marcus watched Lily and Rose chasing Miguel around the pool, all three of them laughing. "They look happy," he said with wonder in his voice. "They are," Tom confirmed. "And so do you, when you let yourself relax around them." "I used to know how to do this," Marcus said quietly. "When Emma was alive, parenting felt natural. But now every interaction feels like I am walking through a minefield." "Maybe that is because you are trying to be both parents instead of just being yourself," Tom suggested. "You do not have to replace their mother. You just have to be their father." For the first time in months, Marcus felt something like hope growing in his chest. Maybe, with Tom's help, he could learn to be the parent his daughters needed. Maybe it was not too late to build the relationship he had always wanted with them. But just as things were starting to feel stable, Marcus's mother decided to pay an unexpected visit, and everything began to change. 3 months after Tom began caring for the twins, life had settled into a comfortable routine. The girls were doing better in school, laughing more often, and had stopped trying to drive away their caregiver. Miguel had become like a protective older brother, and even Marcus was starting to relax around his daughters. For the first time since Emma's death, their house felt like a home. Then Catherine Sterling arrived. Marcus's mother was a formidable woman in her 70s who had built her own real estate empire before retiring. She believed in order, discipline, and the importance of maintaining social standards. She had not approved of Marcus marrying Emma, a middle-class teacher, and she definitely did not approve of what she found when she walked into her son's house unannounced on a Thursday afternoon. "Marcus," she said, her voice sharp as ice, "who is that man in my granddaughter's playroom, and why does he appear to be teaching them to build something with cardboard boxes?" Marcus looked through the doorway where Tom was helping the twins and Miguel construct an elaborate castle out of moving boxes they had found in the garage. All 4 of them were covered in paint and glitter, laughing as they worked together. "That is Tom Rodriguez, Mother. He takes care of the girls." "Takes care of them?" Catherine's eyebrows rose. "You mean he is the nanny?" "He is their caregiver, yes." Catherine watched Tom for a moment, taking in his simple clothes and the easy way he interacted with the children. "Marcus, I need to speak with you privately. Now." They went into Marcus's study, and Catherine closed the door firmly behind them. "Have you lost your mind?" she demanded. "You have some janitor watching my granddaughters." "Tom is not just a janitor. He is a good man who cares about Lily and Rose. The girls have been happier in the past 3 months than they have been since Emma died." "Happy?" Catherine laughed coldly. "Look at them, Marcus. They are covered in paint, playing with garbage, and running around like wild animals. This is not how sterling children should behave. They are behaving like normal children, Marcus said, feeling his anger rise. For the first time in 2 years, they are acting their age. Normal children. Marcus, these girls are the heirs to a fortune. They have responsibilities, expectations to live up to. They cannot be raised by some uneducated man who thinks finger painting is an appropriate activity for children of their standing. What would you have me do? Go back to hiring nannies? They will just drive away. Catherine's expression softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. I have been thinking about this situation for some time. Those girls need structure, discipline, and proper education. I know of an excellent boarding school in Switzerland. Very exclusive, very refined. They would learn languages, proper manners, and how to behave like young ladies. Marcus felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. You want me to send them away? I want you to do what is best for them. And what is best for them is not being raised by the hired help in a house where they are allowed to run wild. They are 8 years old, mother. They need their family, not some boarding school halfway around the world. Family? Catherine's voice was harsh. What family? You work 16 hours a day and leave them with a man whose own child looks like he shops at thrift stores. Is that the influence you want on sterling children? Tom's son is a wonderful boy. And Tom himself is more of a father figure to my daughters than I have been in 2 years. That is exactly the problem, Catherine said. You have abdicated your responsibilities as their father and their social superior. These children need to understand their place in the world, and that place is not playing in dirt with the children of janitors. Their argument was getting louder, and neither of them noticed that the playroom had gone quiet. Outside the study door, 4 children stood frozen, listening to every word. Lily's face had gone pale. Daddy wants to send us away, she whispered. To boarding school, Rose added, her voice hollow. He thinks we are too much trouble. Miguel looked angry. That old lady is mean. My dad is not just a janitor. He takes care of people. Tom appeared behind them, having heard raised voices from upstairs. What are you all doing out here? They are talking about sending us away, Lily said, tears starting to fall. Daddy does not want us anymore. Tom's heart sank. He had heard enough of the conversation to understand what was happening. I am sure your father loves you very much. Sometimes adults say things when they are upset that they do not really mean. He said you are just the hired help, Rose said angrily. He said we should not be playing with Miguel because his clothes come from thrift stores. That was not your father who said those things, Tom said gently. That was your grandmother, and she is angry about something else entirely. But Daddy did not disagree, Lily pointed out. He wants us to go to boarding school so he does not have to deal with us anymore. Before Tom could respond, the study door opened and Marcus stepped out, looking exhausted. Catherine followed him, her expression triumphant. Girls, Marcus said, noticing their tear-stained faces. How long have you been standing there? Long enough, Rose said coldly. We heard what you said about Tom and Miguel. We heard about the boarding school. Catherine stepped forward. Children, your father and I were discussing what would be best for your education and future. Sometimes that means making difficult decisions. You mean getting rid of us, Lily said, her voice breaking. Just like all the nannies wanted to do. That is not true, Marcus started to say, but Rose cut him off. Yes, it is. You work all the time because you do not want to be around us. Now you want to send us away so you never have to see us again. At least now we know the truth. The twins ran toward the front door, and Tom instinctively moved to follow them. But Catherine grabbed his arm. This is family business, she said sharply. You are an employee. Please remember your place. Tom looked at Marcus, waiting for him to say something, to defend their relationship or at least show concern for his daughters who were clearly in distress. But Marcus seemed paralyzed, caught between his mother's expectations and his own uncertainty. "Miguel," Tom said quietly, "go get our things. We should go home." "Dad, what about Lily and Rose?" Miguel asked. "They have their family to take care of them," Tom said, his voice carefully neutral. But as Tom and Miguel gathered their belongings, they could hear the twins sobbing upstairs. The sound broke Tom's heart, but Catherine was right about one thing: this was not his family, and these were not his children to protect. An hour after Tom and Miguel left, Marcus realized he had not seen his daughters since their argument. He checked their rooms, the playroom, and the backyard, but they were nowhere to be found. "Mrs. Chen," he called to the housekeeper, "have you seen the girls?" "No, sir. I thought they were in their rooms." Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. He searched the entire house twice before finding a note on Lily's bed: "We went to say goodbye to Mommy. Do not worry about finding us. We will not cause any more trouble for anyone." "They went to the cemetery," Marcus said, grabbing his car keys. "Mother, call the police. Tell them 2 8-year-old girls are missing." Catherine looked genuinely frightened for the first time that day. "Marcus, I did not mean for this to happen." "Not now," Marcus said, running for the door. The cemetery where Emma was buried was 20 minutes away by car, but too far for 2 small girls to walk safely. Marcus drove faster than he should have, his heart pounding with fear and regret. How had he let things get so far out of control? How had he failed his daughters so completely? He found them sitting by Emma's gravestone, still in their paint-covered clothes from their afternoon with Tom. They looked so small and lost in the gathering darkness. "Lily. Rose." Marcus called as he ran toward them. Both girls looked up with red, swollen eyes. "We were not running away," Rose said defensively. "We just wanted to talk to Mommy." Marcus knelt down beside them, his own eyes filling with tears. "I was so scared when I could not find you." "Why?" Lily asked. "You do not want us around anyway." "That is not true. That is not true at all." Marcus pulled both girls into his arms, holding them tight. "I love you more than anything in the world. I know I have not been a good father since Mommy died, but it is not because I do not want you. It is because I am scared." "Scared of what?" Rose asked. "Scared of making mistakes. Scared of not being enough for you. Scared that I would mess up your lives the way I feel like I messed up everything else after Mommy died." The girls were quiet for a moment, processing this confession. "Daddy," Lily said softly, "do you really want to send us to boarding school?" Marcus closed his eyes, thinking about Catherine's words and Tom's wisdom and his own deepest fears. "No," he said finally. "I do not want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay home with me, and I want to learn how to be the father you deserve." "What about grandmother?" Rose asked. "She thinks we are bad children." "Your grandmother loves you, but she is wrong about a lot of things. You are not bad children. You are wonderful, creative, intelligent girls who have been through something terrible and are still finding ways to be brave every single day." A car door slammed behind them, and Tom's voice called out, "Marcus. Are the girls okay?" Marcus turned to see Tom running toward them with Miguel close behind. "How did you know where to find us?" Miguel remembered Lily mentioning visiting her mother's grave, Tom said, kneeling down to check on the twins. "We were worried when we heard they were missing." "You came looking for us?" Lily asked, surprised. "Of course we did," Miguel said. "You are our family too." "But your dad lost his job because of us," Rose said sadly. Tom looked at Marcus questioningly. "I have not lost my job. Have I?" Marcus stood up slowly, looking at Tom and the girls and Miguel, all of them watching him expectantly. This was it, he realized. This was the moment where he had to choose between his mother's approval and his daughter's happiness. Between social expectations and genuine love. Between the safe, controlled life he had been trying to maintain and the messy, complicated, beautiful family that had been forming right in front of him. "No," Marcus said firmly. "You have not lost your job. In fact, I was hoping we could discuss making some changes to your position." "What kind of changes?" Tom asked carefully. "The kind where you and Miguel become permanent parts of our family. Not as employees, but as people we cannot imagine living without." Catherine's voice came from behind them. "Marcus, think about what you are saying." Marcus turned to face his mother, who had followed him to the cemetery. "I have thought about it, Mother. For 3 months, I have watched my daughters heal and grow and become themselves again because of Tom's care and Miguel's friendship. I will not send them away to some boarding school, and I will not let anyone make them feel ashamed of who they love." "This is highly inappropriate," Catherine said, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. "Maybe," Marcus said. "But it is also the first thing that has felt right since Emma died." Tom looked around at this unlikely group gathered in a cemetery at sunset, a billionaire, his traumatized daughters, a stern grandmother, and a janitor with his son, and realized that sometimes families form in the most unexpected ways. "If you are sure," Tom said to Marcus, "then yes. We would be honored to be part of your family." The twins threw themselves at Tom and Miguel, hugging them tightly. Even Catherine seemed to soften slightly at the sight of her granddaughter's genuine happiness. As they walked back to their cars together, Marcus realized that he had finally learned something Emma had tried to teach him years ago: love is not about perfection or social status or doing things the way they have always been done. Love is about showing up, staying present, and choosing the people who matter over the opinions of those who do not. 6 months later, Tom officially moved into the guest house on Marcus's property with Miguel. The twins had 2 big brothers now, Miguel, and a father who had finally learned how to be present. Catherine still visited, though she had learned to appreciate the chaos that comes with a house full of children who feel safe enough to be themselves. And in the evening, when Marcus came home from work, he often found his unlikely family in the backyard, building castles, painting pictures, or simply talking about their days. It was not the life he had planned, but it was the life they had chosen together, and that made all the difference.